We're going inside them. We're going outside them. Inside them, outside them. Fight, 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 fight. What do you say, man?
Thing to do isn't to punch them, isn't to talk to them. There's only one way you get respect, and that's by looking somebody in the eye for 60 minutes.
It was a great game for college football.
And Notre Dame is going to go for 2 points. They're going to try to win it. Steenberge is going back to throw. He throws the end zone. It's caught by Sweeney. Notre Dame has taken the lead over Purdue.
My father's philosophy really, that left an indelible imprint in me. Like, all right, this is what it's about. It's about making good decisions and doing the right things for young people. And when you do that, over time, you keep doing that, over time, good things are going to happen. And you just got to believe in that and got to have faith in that.
Our guest this week on Kileleni to the Summit is Jeff Thorne, who was the national champion head coach of North Central in 2019. And I love that we have this episode on. We recently had Brad Spencer on our Culture OS series talking about his national championships at North Central as well. So it's great to get Jeff Thorne on here and get his perspective of not just North Central football, but football in general. So Patrick, tell us about Jeff Thorne and your relationship with him, how you met him, and some of the things you guys have done together at Global Football.
Sure. Jeff and I, as with a lot of these guys, we met at the AFCA convention. If anybody wants to find out more about it, I'm there every year. That's the one convention I go to because basically every coach in the country is there. And Jeff and I met, started talking about, what we do with Global Football. And he traveled with us with his North Central team in 2006. And it turns out when they came back that next fall, they won their first conference championship. So he was kind of motivated to keep doing it. And at the time, his father, John Thorne, was the head coach. And Jeff was the coordinator. And his wide receiver coach was Brad Spencer. So it's a good family thing. And then Jeff took over a couple years later when his father, John, retired, and has gone on from there and just started developing and building everything that goes on at North Central College. But I really enjoyed Jeff. I liked his way around guys, his leadership style, and have just stayed in touch with him. His son, has gone on to be a top-fledged Division I quarterback, and Jeff has motivated a lot of guys along with his father and the whole Thorne family.
Here's our episode with Jeff Thorne that Patrick titled Chasing the Line. We'll be back with the Winning Edge takeaways following this conversation. What you see on tape is a direct reflection of what you teach and how you teach. Video is important, but if you don't teach well, you're not going to like what you see on your video. First Down Playbook has been helping coaches teach better for 13 years. It allows you to present installs, playbooks, and practice cards in half the time with NFL quality. Coaching tools like video pairing, a player app, practice schedules, and wristband sheets have made First Down Playbook a program management system with everything in one place. If you're in a position of leadership with your football program, receive a free 1-week look at First Down Playbook. Call them at 512-814-6158 or visit them on their website or social media. Mention Coach and Coordinator Podcast or use the coupon code COACH24 to receive a $100 discount off the normal $700 First Down Playbook team membership price. Links and the phone number are in the show notes.
Welcome, friends. This is Patrick Steenberge, founder of Global Football, your host today for the podcast
Kileleni to the Summit.
Today we get to visit with a man I've gotten to travel often with to far-off places, and the reigning head coach of the North Central College Cardinals, national champions, NCAA Division III, Jeff Thorne. Jeff, where do I find you today?
In my house, in my office, like everybody else, right?
Like everybody else, dying to get out and do some real coaching, right?
Yeah, exactly.
This is not an X's and O's type of format. This is more finding out about, kind of your background, your history, how you, feel got to be as successful as you have been, and something about your teams, your players, that kind of things. But everybody's got mentors in their life. Anybody that I've met, and I've heard of all different stories. I know you come from a football family, but tell me, growing up and going to Wheaton Central High School, how about some mentors that were important to you in your early living?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. It's my parents. I've been blessed to, grow up in a home where my parents were together. They're still married today, and a lot of love in our house. Great examples of living, integrity-filled lives, faith-filled lives from both my mom and my dad. Their work ethic, their stance on issues, and really giving my sister and myself an opportunity to observe two people who believed in doing things the right way and then standing up for what they believed in, even when that was difficult to do and maybe on the opposite side of where the majority was. My mom has had cancer now for 9 years, multiple myeloma, which is an incurable type of cancer. It's cancer of the bone marrow.
Yeah.
And it's just been amazing for me as a grown man with my own kids now and my wife to observe how she's handled that, how she's fallen back on her faith. And, you hear those things all the time growing up. He'll never leave you nor forsake you. And, put your faith in him. And I've always believed that. And now to watch my mom go through this and be as strong as she's been, it's just been such a great example of toughness and faith and really a great example to those around adversity.
Yeah, you are blessed to grow up that way. Not everybody has that good fortune of parents like that. Nobody who gets to be a head football coach at a place where you're at and be successful just eases into that. How about some adversities you had to overcome, say as a youngster growing up before you got to Eastern Illinois to play there?
Yeah, when your dad's a coach, there's certain things you have to deal with that other kids don't. That idea that, the only reason you've got anything or the only reason you've won a starting job or you're playing is because of your dad. And so I dealt with that through high school, and I was a 3-sport athlete, and it didn't matter whether it was football, basketball, or baseball. Somehow, some way, it was always, kind of insinuated that I was getting opportunities because my dad was a coach and was in the building. So you learn how to, have thicker skin and not let things bother you. And, as you look back, and there was one particular experience my senior year, we were in the playoffs, and I'd been a pretty good athlete in all 3 sports and was all conference in all area in all 3. And as a senior was just named all state in football during the playoffs. And it was announced to our team. And we had dinner that night at my good friend's house, and there were 4 or 5 of my best friends there. And I had to leave. But as I was walking out the door, I stopped to go to the bathroom, and all my friends thought I had left.
Yeah.
And discussion started taking place as I was in the bathroom about having been named All-State, and the dad said, there's no way he's All-State. And my buddies all of a sudden were like, yeah, you're probably right. And so that was a tough deal because I had to get up and walk out of the bathroom and say goodbye again. And clearly they all knew I had been in there, and it wasn't for any other reason than I just had to go to the bathroom as I was leaving. So, you look back on that and you start to realize whose approval, are you seeking? Whose praise are you longing for? And where do you find significance? And if that significance and you're really looking for the praise of fellow peers or men and women, that's going to be short-lived because that comes and goes. But if it's your Heavenly Father, if it's where you draw your strength that you're looking for your significance from, at a young age, I was forced to face that head on and understand if I'm looking for praise from the people around me, and that's what's going to really give me self-worth, then, I'm chasing the wrong things and my heart's not in the right place. So at a really young age, I was hitting the forehead with a 2x4 and reminded that continue to seek the approval of the one who created me and who will never leave me nor forsake me.
Everybody, especially in those critical high school years where you're so worried about, your peers and being peer conscious, I'm sure that was a tough one to swallow right away though, right? Yeah,
it was. It didn't really impact my friendships all that much. It just kind of, because you got to understand, people are young, they make mistakes, and it was a comment made by an adult, and young kids just kind of hopped onto it. I didn't hold it against my friends or anything like that, but it's been interesting because my son has dealt with many of the same things. He's now a freshman at Michigan State and was also a 3-sport athlete, and I heard the comments in the stands now where my mom would have heard the comments in the stands, or my sister. And now I'm sitting there with my wife and my girls hearing the same comments. And, it really helped in terms of helping my son get through that, knowing that I had gone through the same thing, and it'll be okay. It's like I said, it thickens your skin a little bit and toughens you up a little bit and prepares you for what life is going to throw at you down the road. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So your dad coached you through high school, but then you went on to Eastern Illinois. Mm-hmm. How was that all of a sudden playing for a non-family member? Yeah, it was different. Yeah, I'll bet. But, having played basketball and baseball too, I was accustomed to playing for other guys. And I was so fortunate at Eastern Illinois to play for Bob Spoo, who's a legendary coach and just a fantastic human being, as were the other coaches on the staff. So it was just there were so many similarities in how my dad coached and what he believed and what he stood for compared to Coach Spoo. There was such consistency in message, consistency in approach, that it really made it a great experience for me in Charleston. So did you grow up wanting to be a coach, or did you have other goals and dreams? No, I knew from a pretty young age that I wanted to coach. Yeah. Certainly, like every other kid, you think about being an athlete at the highest level. Sure. But when you're 5'10" and 185 pounds, you realize pretty quickly, hey, my clock is ticking, and when that college career is over, I've got to be prepared to do what's next and start the next chapter. So, I planned on coaching. My mom wasn't sure if that was right, just given that my dad was a coach. And so I diverted my path. I was in finance for 13 years as a financial advisor, and spent a lot of time doing that. My last 7 years as an advisor is really where my dad had established himself at North Central College. And so for those 7 years, from 2002 through 2008, I was the offensive coordinator and coached the quarterbacks. And in 2009, finally made the decision to leave that profession and go full time to coaching. And honestly, Patrick, it's the best decision I ever made. Well, I've seen you interact, with your student athletes and with your coaches, and I've always been impressed the way you just have a good sense of their pulse, I think, and how to manage a team of, young men and put them all together. Mm-hmm. You've coached a number of teams. You took over from your dad. How was that transition? Because I know you coached under him and then you took over a few years back. How did that transition flow? It went really smoothly. Just really grateful to the administration at North Central for giving me this opportunity. But I think when you promote from within, I think there's some really strong advantages there, because our entire staff stayed in place. I didn't have to go out and hire a bunch of guys and create a staff. It was, I had to fill one position, and that wasn't difficult to do. And so our staff, our goal was, hey, let's make sure that we continue moving this thing in the same direction that, former head coach Thorne had really put this program on. He did such a phenomenal job of changing the culture, and the foundation from which he built the program is consistent today. Nothing's changed from that standpoint. There's been certain things that maybe we've tweaked just because I think it's important that as a head coach, you're yourself. And I wanted to make sure I wasn't trying to be my dad, because we are different. I mean, we believe the same things, but from a personality standpoint, I wanted that to come through. So just, there's a couple little things that we've, I would say, added more than changed. But the foundation that the program was built upon has remained constant. And I think when you hire from within, you have a much stronger probability of that being the case. Yeah, you had, as you said, you had a great staff to work with, guys who've been able to just keep the ball moving.
As coaches, we know that some of the biggest hurdles to our team's success can come from off the field. Your team needs support to tackle the endless list of expenses, uniforms, training equipment, travel, and more. But raising that money can feel like a full-time job. Thankfully, there's Vertical Raise. Vertical Raise is the premier online fundraising platform, using innovative technology to create the easiest and most efficient system available. Raise more money in less time with a local fundraising coach who works with your team every step of the way to customize the ideal fundraiser. With options for online donations, digital discount cards, premium product sales, and even spirit shops, Vertical Raise has top-of-the-line solutions for every fundraising style. To find out more, visit verticalraise.com and we'll get you connected with an exclusive offer on your first fundraiser. I've always been interested in the use of technology to make our jobs more effective, so I'm excited to continue sharing modern football technology with you here on the podcast. This innovative system leverages tendencies to improve self-scouting, game planning, and in-game decision-making at the speed of the game. Modern football stands out because it's a battle-tested platform used by teams at all levels, like four-time national champion Bishop Gorman, the five-time California state champion Folsom Bulldogs, six-time Texas state champion Lake Travis, Cal football, and the CFL's Grey Cup champions, the Montreal Alouettes. So book a demo today to see why these teams trust modern football technology. Visit www.teammofo.com/demo and mention Coach and Coordinator Podcast or use the coupon code CC10 to receive 10% off your first year.
One of the most vivid memories I have of your father and you was in that awards banquet out on the catamaran off the coast of Barcelona.
Uh-huh.
And we were having our fun dinner out there, and the boat's just moored, and we're in this most amazing sight. And I can just remember seeing you and your dad talking together, and I could just sense the closeness there. How was his pulse this year as you went on for your national championship run?
Well, his pulse quickened, believe it or not. I mean, his pulse was a lot quicker than it was when he was on the field, because I think that lack of control, and he wanted it so bad for the program. You know, in 2013, he came so close with, our semifinal loss to Mount Union that year, 41-40 in the snow, and we just didn't quite get it done for him. And so that was really, really important to me, to our coaching staff, and even our players. And very few of our players now ever played for him. But They know how strong the connection is. They know how huge of a presence he is in the program, even today, with not being there on a daily basis as a coach anymore, but his influence on the program. So to go on the run we went on, and really at the Mount Union game, after the game, one of the highlights of the season for me was him coming down on the field and, kind of doing our post-game chant. And there were some tears that day for sure. It was really powerful.
Yeah, I can just imagine the pride that he had, and I'm sure he still maintains. We first met about 15 years ago,
mm-hmm.
and then your first trip that you took with us, 2006 to Italy, was memorable. And then you guys came back and won your first CCIW conference championship that year, correct?
We did, and so I think the coincidence there, which I don't believe in coincidence, but the irony is that was our first conference championship since 1960 at North Central. And then here we traveled again this last summer doing the Prague and Berlin trip. And we go and we win our first national championship. So I absolutely think that those trips that we've taken and the job that yourself and your staff and Anthony Travel have done is really amazing. Those are lifelong memories, but it also the significance of building team and those memories and the bonds that our players developed on those trips. And this most recent one in particular, I absolutely think played a role in what we were able to achieve.
Yeah, it's fun to watch guys develop while we're traveling in far off lands, watch them to develop together, and then to watch you guys throughout the season. Talk a little bit, Jeff, about your belief in teams. And I've heard you talk to your guys and to your coaches, just the strength of a team, much more so than the individuals.
Yeah, there's that Rudyard Kipling poem that we've studied for years. The strength of the pack is the wolf, and the strength of the wolf is the pack. I'm paraphrasing, but I just really think that when young people get the opportunity to give themselves up for the betterment of something bigger than them, I think it's a great lesson for life, because if you want to be a husband, you need to understand that this is bigger than me, and I'm living for not just me, but now my wife too, and take it a step further, you become a father. And if you want to be an effective father, you've got to understand that there are things that are more important than your own agenda and self-serving types of things. So young people getting that opportunity to be a part of a team and understand their role and their piece. We talk about a puzzle all the time, and my dad did just such a great job with helping guys visualize how a team comes together. It's like a puzzle, and each one of you is a piece of that puzzle. And as coaches, our job is to make sure we figure out how do we make this puzzle fit and finish the puzzle. Each person's got to have a particular role. And our players have really bought into that idea. And the culture that we have at North Central is pretty special in that guys really, truly care about each other. And I don't think you can have a great team and a great season if your players don't love each other. And we work really hard at that. And the relationship part of it is really everything. And young men spending time together and learning about each other is paramount to the success that we've had. And I think if they carry those lessons the rest of their life and put relationships at the top, one of their most important things in their life is building great relationships, then they've got a chance to be successful in whatever they choose to do.
Yeah, you're obviously building men for the future. Rare is the guy that comes out of your program and gets to play professionally. Although you got a quarterback who's going to take a shot, right?
He does. He's got a great shot. He signed with the 49ers, and he's awfully excited about it. So are we. And what an opportunity. So the beauty of that is that doesn't happen frequently in Division III. You know that as well as I do. But at the same time, you can tell young people, if you're good enough, they're going to find you. All you need is an opportunity. And Brock's gotten that. And I'm confident that he's going to take advantage of it, just knowing the person that he is.
Yeah, we got to travel and with his parents also this past year in Germany. And I could tell their relationship was pretty special. But how about, you talked about team. Brock probably came in as a highly touted high school guy. Do you have guys that come in that have trouble adapting to your team message, or is that just put out so strongly in your recruiting that those kids know that's what it's all about there?
Yeah, I think the latter. It's such a huge part of our recruiting, making sure the players we recruit understand what our program is about, what we're built upon, and really what to expect. Now, to say that every single guy buys in 100% right away, that's not the case. Some guys take a little bit longer than others, and there certainly are some players who don't assimilate and just can't, completely buy in. And typically they don't last very long, not because we don't want them to, but it's just not the right fit for them. And so, we don't begrudge them. We wish them the best of luck if they do walk away, but that doesn't happen very often. But when it does, we wish them the best. And by and large, our guys buy into what we're about and stay with the program. And this year would be such a great example. This senior class, there were several guys in this senior class this year that were never starters in their 4 years. Others that didn't start until their senior year. And they just kept grinding away and working and believing and buying into their role. And then lo and behold, each one of those guys had some sort of role this year, and they really relished it. So I believe that anytime you're dealing with a team, there's got to be a strong culture. And you hear that word thrown around a lot right now in coaching in general, culture and family and brotherhood. And I just think you have to have a process that your program goes through that allows that to really take place and flourish and take hold. And so there's several things we do within our program to make sure that our culture is alive and well and our players really drive it. And I think that's critical.
I talk a lot with coaches about overachievers, teams that overachieve beyond their levels.
Sure.
And I'm always interested how that happens, how that develops. So, and I'm thinking this team this year was the epitome of that. Am I correct?
I don't know if I'd say that, because I don't want to label this team as an overachieving team. We were and really, quite honestly, give myself or our coaching staff too much credit. This was a really talented team with a quarterback that's on an NFL roster.
Yep.
So I think they achieved what they worked really hard to achieve, and we had the talent to do that. I think in my coaching experience and really observing my dad's teams, I think the best example of an overachieving team is 1995. And I know that's a long time ago, But his 1994 team was just loaded with Division I football players. Tim Lester, the head football coach at Western Michigan, had just graduated. We had a 2-time All-State receiver. We had a linebacker that signed with Northwestern and a couple offensive linemen. They got beat in the second round because the quarterback got hurt, the receiver got hurt. There are all these injuries, and they get knocked out. And I remember, as if it was yesterday, Patrick, standing in the kitchen of my parents' house and just looking at my dad and asking him, "Hey, Dad, what are you going to do next year? We've lost all these guys. It's, rebuilding year." And he didn't, without hesitation, he turned and looked at me dead in the eye and just said, "Jeff, the more I worry about doing the right thing, the more things take care of themselves." And so 1995 rolls around, and he's got this undersized quarterback, really good athlete, and they finished 6-3. They went 6-3, finished third in the conference, made a couple adjustments going into the playoffs, and they got hot. They show up in the state championship game, and they're facing the second-ranked team in the country. Naperville Central High School that year was just loaded with talent. They had blown us out earlier in the season, and lo and behold, we go and beat them 22-21. We knocked down a 2-point conversion with like 15 seconds left. It was my neighbor that lived 2 houses down, and they win the state championship. And I'm 23 years old at the time, and I'm thinking, geez, it can't be that easy. Do the right thing, and something like this happens. And then the next year, those juniors from that team became seniors. They go and they win the state title back-to-back years. And so 95, 96 state champions. And now in 96, I'm 24. And you're thinking, okay, there must be something to this. And certainly it's not a situation where I'm thinking do the right thing and there's going to be immediate success like happened there. Yeah. But those were 2 teams, the 95 team in particular, that did really overachieve and did something amazing. But my father's philosophy really, that left an indelible imprint in me. Like, all right, this is what it's about. It's about making good decisions and doing the right things for young people. And when you do that over time, you keep doing that over time, good things are going to happen. And you just got to believe in that and got to have faith in that.
Yeah, you've carried that on for many, many years. And I know your faith is strong, in many ways. Talk about your passion, Jeff. What drives you? What gets you going every day? And now that, you've been to the mountaintop now, right? Mm-hmm. What gets you fired up to coach this next year?
I think number one is just the opportunity. What drew me to coaching full time, having tasted it for 7 years as a part-time coach, what drew me to coaching was just the opportunity to impact lives for his kingdom. And that's what gets me up every day is what can we do? What are we doing? And we have such an incredible group of assistant coaches. Brad Spencer, our offensive coordinator and receiver coach and recruiting coordinator, and Tim Janicek, our defensive line coach, and strength and conditioning coordinator, Shane Durkings, our defensive coordinator, and linebackers, defensive backs, and finally Eric Studham. And these guys are they're amazing men. And to be surrounded by guys who, quite frankly, I believe are better than me, that's the goal, is to surround yourself with people that challenge you and make you better. And I've got a group of guys that make me better every day with their energy, their work ethic, their commitment to our players. And so that's what gets me up every day is wanting to keep up with these young guys, number one, our coaches, and then really finding new ways, creative ways, and interesting, exciting ways to engage our players and impact their lives, again, for his kingdom. And we've been blessed with some great kids, and that's the goal, or that's the mission, I should say. The goal is to go and do what we just did again, and repeat as national champions. That would be amazing, and that's what we're working towards right now, even in quarantine, doing everything we can to stay connected with our current team and engage our incoming class. So that's what's driving me.
It's an awesome mission and goal. And like I say, I've gotten to watch your team 5 different times, in different venues around the world. And I love sitting back and watching the way you work with your staff and then get the message out to your student athletes. Talk just briefly about communication, because I've seen you do that. To me, when you ask your kids to do something, tell them what we're doing, here's the plan. there's no question of what it is. Talk a little bit about being clear in communication.
We had the Navy SEALs come in 2016 and 2017, and they were supposed to come this year again in March, the 17th and 18th, and here the 13th, we kind of shut down. So that was disappointing not to have them come back, but the message they sent to our program, when these guys come in, you know better than anybody with your son's experience, and the power and the impressive nature of a Navy SEAL. These guys came in and they talked about communication and how important it is. And it's at their level, communicating well means you live. Communicating poorly means somebody could lose their life. And they just they did such a great job of helping our young guys and our coaching staff understand that if we don't communicate at a higher level and make sure they talk about using precise words precisely. And it really changed how we communicate with each other. There is no gray area with what we're doing and how we communicate. Players understand what's expected. Coaches understand what's expected and what the standard is. And then we just move forward. So it's paramount, I think, in any relationship to communicate. And when you're communicating well, relationships have a chance to flourish. When you're not communicating well and there are things that are left unsaid or misunderstood, that's when relationships start to falter and you're struggling with wherever you are in your life when you're not communicating well.
That's well said. Hey, there may be some young men, some student athletes, some women, some coaches who maybe are struggling getting going today, that they're kind of like, it's, when is this ever going to end? How do I motivate myself? How about a few words of motivation for those people today?
Yeah. Stay positive, stay hopeful. I was doing my daily devotional a few weeks back and finished it. And there's always these couple Bible verses. So the first one was somewhere in the New Testament. I can't remember. I think it was in the book of John. And the second Bible verse was Deuteronomy 31:6. And I flipped my Bible one time. I knew Deuteronomy was early in the New Testament. I flipped my Bible and boom, it lands on the page. Deuteronomy 31:6. And the next day, I was part of our Bible study group, and I told the story and was really just moved by the message. And I had the scripture was already highlighted from a previous trip into Deuteronomy, and it's simply the scripture goes like this: it's be strong and courageous, do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you; he will never leave you nor forsake you. And I thought that was a really powerful message that day. And the next morning shared that story. Well, 3 days later, I was meeting with our team via Zoom, and I was trying to figure out, okay, what message do I want to send? I want to get these guys excited and also reassure them that everything's going to be okay. And, again, I'm in the New Testament, and I thought, you know what, maybe that Deuteronomy 31:6 is the right thing. So I flipped my Bible again. The first time I did it, it was about 900 pages. That I flipped and landed on Deuteronomy 31:6. And the second time was maybe 520. I flipped my Bible again, it landed right on it again. And I didn't have it marked. And so I think that's God was speaking to me. And I think it's really important, given the situation we're going through right now, is to be strong and be courageous and understand that this too shall pass. He's with us. He's not leaving us. He's right by our side. And when you fall back in his loving arms and just submit to him and understand that everything's going to be okay, it makes moving forward every day a little bit easier for me anyway. And then the other thing I would say is Patrick, I would say dream big for those young people out there. Don't limit yourself. Our Chase the Lion message. When we dream big and we invite God to be a part of that, it's amazing what he can do. And those dreams that we don't have the talent or the resources to achieve on our own, he'll get involved if we trust and we're faithful. So dream big, chase your biggest dream. This year, our Chase the Lion dream has been to win a national championship. And that's a dream that wasn't just born last year. That's a dream that was born in 2002 at a time when we didn't have the resources or the talent to do what we did. My dad didn't shy away from saying, we want to win a national championship here. And this was at a program that hadn't won a conference championship since 1960. And so he got the ball rolling. He did the heavy lifting, and this year's group was able to finish the goal in that long journey that we set out to accomplish back in 2002. So I guess my overriding message is don't be afraid to dream big and do something huge. God takes people who don't have a lot of talent oftentimes and does the biggest things with those people because it just proves how strong and how powerful and how sovereign he is.
Thanks, Jeff. Every time I'm listening to you, wherever we've been, and I get fired up about the day just whenever you're talking to your players and your coaches. And today, thank you, Jeff Thorne, the head coach, the national champions, North Central College Cardinals.
Thanks.
Jeff, you be well, all right?
You too, Patrick. Thanks so much for the opportunity, and I would fire that right back at you every time I have a conversation with you and get to hear the stories that you've lived. It inspires me as well. So keep doing what you're doing too. It makes a difference.
Every day, buddy.
All right.
All right, let's go.
Okay, God bless.
Patrick, you titled this one Chasing the Lion with Jeff Thorne here, and just again, another great example of leadership, plenty of takeaways here. What were the ones that you focused on?
The three that I, heard strong and clear was first communication and effective communication. Coaches communicate all the time, right? You're talking, texting, emailing all the time with players, with parents, with administrators, with fans, but it's got to be effective. You've got to be clear to your players, clear to your staff, so that everybody's on the same page. And that was something, it's not just talking, but it's being effective in your communication. He's also really big on building that strong team culture. The teamwork, the unity of a team is what allows them to win a national championship. And they've gone on now and won another national championship. And this past year, we're lost in the final seconds, in the national championship game. So what he created there at North Central continues today. He also talks about dreaming big and trusting God's plan, and something I believe in. How many times in my life I look back and realize, boy, it wasn't really my plan, but it all turned out pretty well. So it's taking on a big dream. It's going to the summit. It's Kileleni. It's going to the top of Kilimanjaro. It's what Jeff said. We're going to win a national championship, and doing that, and then having the faith to stay positive and courageous, facing that lion when things are going wrong. But Jeff is just a wonderful communicator and leader of young men.
Patrick, as always, want to thank you for bringing these conversations to us on Coach and Coordinator, and we look forward to more of these in the weeks to come. Be sure to check out our partner Global Football at globalfootball.com. And for your fundraising needs, check out Vertical Raise at verticalraise.com, an innovative platform which we'll be sharing more about here on the podcast. Follow all we're doing at coachandcoordinator.com and follow us on X at Coach K. Grabowski.